Okay, well, I got these things nice and cleaned out. So what I did was I made a cardboard template that fits in both of these. Okay, and that brings us to bringing it over here. Okay, and kind of pinning it down with a couple of thumbtacks so it doesn't go anywhere, where I trace around it with a ballpoint pen, which has disappeared. Okay, and this is the lead that I'm using for the outside and the rest of it. So whenever you measure for lead, or any cane for that matter, you always measure your depth, which this is 1/8 of an inch, and then you measure your heart, which is, you always allow a 1/16 of an inch. So after I went around this with a ballpoint pen, okay, so it's the inside of the line, because you're drawing, the pen is on the outside of that template. Okay, so I'm allowing 3/16 of an inch from the inside of the line, and that brings us to here. Now, when I'm doing arches and inside lines like this, if we can get this in frame here, and maybe do a little close-up, and hopefully you can see this, but I'm basically marking from the inside of the line 3/16. 3/16. Okay, and then I can connect the dots to get my outside, or the pattern part that's really going to fit on the inside of that line. Okay, and you wonder how I came up with this. You know, I had a guy come in one of my place I was working at ages ago, and he said he was one of these guys that made the sets for Hollywood movies. Okay. And he would do the same thing. How do you get an arch around it? Well, 3/16, 3/16, 3/16, 3/16. So I can connect the dots. And we'll do that on the other side. And also, doesn't hurt to have a good, decent straight edge. Let's back this up some more. Because I already done the markings. 3/16, 3/16, 3/16, 3/16. Okay. Same thing over here. I'm not showing that. Right. Doesn't hurt to have a nice, long, decent straight edge. I also use that one for cutting strips and things. I have to do a lot of cutting of float glass for the hardware store. My studio is above. So, I've had to cut strips that long out of float glass. So, and I've already put a square on this to make sure that it is square. Okay. I still have to do that one up there. So, and I'm using, since I had the glass that came out of it, I'm using that to get my measurements by. 3/16, 3/16, 3/16, 3/16. This is kind of good practice for making your own patterns, and almost like, you know, back in your youth, having to use crayons and learn how to stay within the line. There'll be a little bit of play here, but so that brings us to using this Alright, sorry about the glare, to get the measurements to do the pattern. So we're going to do it from the outside. This is, let's allow, let's say, I'm not going to see it with this, but let's go with this. 3/16 from here. Okay. So to the center of the lid, we're going to do this 3.5 from there to there. That should be the same, 3.5, and then whatever is left in the center. Okay. And to get this measurement, if necessary, well, it's actually up here too, so I can mark that, draw the line, and then because it's pencil I can erase it. And of course the center is obviously going to be the center, going to be equal. Then after that I can use a compass to get the arch, make the arch, and that'll be my pattern. Thank you. God bless. Bye-bye.